Texas A&M had their spring game yesterday. What can we take away from the beginning of the Mike Elko era? A little bit of weather, we understand that, but still we're going to try and tell you our takeaways from this spring game. Let's talk about this first, though. You're watching a reaction to a college football spring game the day after it happened. A little bit sick for this college football sport. Well, the good news with that is we're in the exact same boat because we're talking about a college football spring game the morning after it happened. So bottom line, we deserve each other. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're dialed in here. College football year-round. Also follow me on Twitter at JD Piquel on Instagram and Twitter there. Those are the handles, if that wasn't clear. All right, let's get right to it, man. Nick Scourton, guy you heard a lot about during that first portal window, transferring over from Purdue, led the Big Ten in sacks. How's that going to translate? It translates just fine. You watched number 11 yesterday. He jumps off the screen. If you have good defensive line play, you've got a chance. We say that a lot with the quarterback position on this show, and it's absolutely true, but especially in the SEC. The way they feel internally in College Station, not just about Nick Scourton, but about the rest of that unit, they're going to be able to get a push similar to last year, and they're going to be able to get after the quarterback similar to last year. So overall, like, the vibes coming out of the spring should be very high. Vibes coming out of the spring game, being able to see Nick Scourton, if you're a part of that 12th man, and if you saw that thing yesterday during the broadcast or in person, God bless you, you're extremely fired up, as you should be. A lot of new pieces. Talked about Mike Elko being the new head coach, also a new OC in Colin Klein. And it was noticeable. There was a different tempo, a different pace, a different look to this offense overall. And I think if you're a Texas A&M fan, that's refreshing because it's not necessarily a thing where it comes down to the ingredients if you're a Aggie fan out there. It's not a thing where you're like, man, I wish we had a quarterback that could throw the football. Even when Connor Wegman went down last year, you had some guys that could make the plays on the football for you. Noah Thomas looked like he's going to be a guy for you this upcoming fall. Mike Elko talked about him after the spring game and said he can work into being the go-to guy for them. I'm curious to see if A&M is active in the portal in terms of adding other offensive weapons, because they got a couple of them here. Noah Thomas, I just mentioned him. I thought the running backs looked really good. Le'Veon Moss, we know what he is, but he ran with authority yesterday. Ruben Owens had like 4 touches, but still over 70 yards and 1 home run hit for a touchdown. You expect him to take another step this year. All of those pieces pairing with your quarterback now, who I think the rest of America has gotten to see in a smaller sample size, but the folks in College Station have a pretty good handle on who they have back there pulling the trigger. Connor Wegman, man, didn't have an impressive stat line. The weather was what it was. The amount of reps he got was what it was. But I think that those who have been paying attention to number 15 knows what he brings to the table. And I think Colin Klein's offense, allowing them to play a little bit more wide open and play a little bit more of a quarterback-friendly system, is going to cater to his skill set. If he can stay healthy with all the weapons they have, A&M's going to have a chance now. They're going to have a chance. I promise you that. The offensive line is obviously an area of attention going forward. Keep an eye on that. But I'm telling you, if they can unlock those playmakers and give Connor Wegman the time he needs to run this offense under Colin Klein, they're going to be dynamic. Okay, I'm just telling you, they're going to be dynamic. And the good news for A&M fans, you're kind of flying under the radar a little bit this year. Because the last couple of seasons, how many times did you look at a preview magazine and there'd be some section on odds to make the college football playoff or hot picks to make the college football playoff or dark horses, and A&M was always in that conversation. This year, it's a new head coach, and that buzz has died down a little bit. The talk around A&M and their college football playoff hopes have died down a little bit. And it's funny because I think this is actually one of the years where A&M should feel most optimistic about the college football playoff, not just because it goes to 12 teams, but because of the changes they've made on a staff and the way this roster is, honestly, I think poised to do some really good things. When you look at what held A&M back previously, I don't want to make this a Jimbo Fisher dunk sesh, so I'm not going to, but it was clear that the roster had more under the hood than what that previous era was able to get out of them. We said it going into this spring game. One thing I was looking for was how do they operate operationally? Operate and operationally, a lot of the same words. But what I'm trying to say here is we talked about it going into the spring game. Mike Elko talked about it coming out of the spring game. We have to be able to be clean and be able to at least have a jumping off point for ourselves. And he emphasized the offensive side of the football. I mean, I think they were pretty clean for the majority of the day. Very few procedural penalties, very few controllable errors pre-snap. Like, if you're looking at the Mike Elko era and how it's going to be going forward, this was an appetizer, but I think it was an accurate appetizer because they're going to be disciplined. They're going to do things the right way. They're going to have a certain structure about themselves, and then their talent will then be able to elevate because of those disciplines and practices that they have in place. It may not happen overnight, but I think when you look at, again, what they have under the hood here on this team, and you're tired of hearing this if you're an A&M fan, I'm telling you, I haven't been saying this the last couple of years. I'm saying it right now. They've got a really good roster, and they've got a quarterback that can propel them with this staff and the pieces they have in place and the playmakers they have in place. So if you're an A&M fan, I think the bottom line here is this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the foundational part of your team going forward, the spring practice that is, in terms of installing all these pieces. But a lot of ingredients. There's a lot of ingredients if you're a Texas A&M fan. There's a lot of things to be excited about, and the spring game was just a little nibble and a little taste at what that's going to look like when it comes time to play games in the fall. Make sure you're subscribed. Again, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JD Patel. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're glad to have y'all dive in. We're going to keep this party rolling. We'll see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.